Yeah.
So
Got it. Okay. So, hey, today's session, I'm not even sure the title of this, something to do with dignity of risk, right?
right.
Okay. All right. So, Tanaya, you're part of this question session as well. If you like people to respect you, raise your hand. And Michelle, you got to tell us if your hand is up or down.
It's up.
All right. You like people to you like that. Okay. All right. So, you like people to respect you. And I'm going to show Tanaya with her skills is going to launch us into a 4 minute and 58-second video. And it's led by a person with developmental disabilities who experiences autism. And she kind of talks about respect and the dignity of risk. And what I'm going to do is, Tanaya, let's go ahead and I want to see if I want any other. Oh, well, a couple other things to get us there. If you've ever taken a risk, raise both hands. Tanaya, you know you're multitasking. All right, Michelle, have you ever taken a risk?
I feel like so. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, one could argue if you gave birth to your children, that's a bit of a risk.
Yeah, my kids are all adopted, but that's a good example.
There you go. If you chose to raise adopted children, that's a bit of a risk.
It's a huge risk.
Right. Okay. Now, here's another question. Have you ever made a mistake? And I would say, yes, I have.
Yes, my hands are up.
Tanaya, how about you? You've made a mistake too. Wow. Okay. So we've all taken the risks. We've all made mistakes. Have you ever learned anything from making a mistake?
Yes.
Okay. And it might just be me, but I believe some of the most powerful learnings in my life came from making mistakes. And oftentimes the lasting impression of that mistake has driven me towards some other sort of success because I made different decisions in the future, or I learned and I made some adjustments. So I give that background, those questions. Prior to watching this is a video that was done at a People First conference, which is a conference of self-advocates, people who experience disabilities. Tanaya, question?
No, I'm sorry. It was for my peer. So we're playing.
Oh, I thought maybe, or you're just stretching. Okay. So again, 2019, it's a group of people that they asked they were dealing with the question of risk and the dignity of risk. And so I just thought we'll listen to it. And if at any point in time you want Tanaya to stop it, just tell her to stop it. We'll go from there. Otherwise, we'll chat about it a little bit afterwards. Okay. Tanaya, are you ready?
Right.
Okay. Go. And can you make that even bigger or no?
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Ivanova. And this episode is very special. I actually get to have some other self-advocates here with me today. And we're going to be talking about dignity of risk. Dignity of risk is the idea that there is dignity in making mistakes, that there is dignity in doing things that may cause that you may make a mistake, that you may do something wrong, and that's okay. So dignity means like respect and value into something, and risk is something that is sometimes scary, or sometimes you're not going to be perfect at, or you may make a mistake. For me, dignity of risk was moving out. Going on my first date. It was risky, but I'm glad that I did it because I learned from it. Another way that my parents enforced dignity of risk is they wanted me to try to drive. And it did not work out. I messed up and it was not a good idea, but it was really important that I tried. So I have some other self-advocates here, and they want to talk to you about what dignity of risk means to them.
I'll just touch on what Ivanova, what you're saying. It is nice to make a mistake because people can learn from it. or if you're like, have you heard anybody being soft-hearted? It's like, I would like to support that person, but how can I support the best way you can? It's a learning experience.
Sometimes I mistake myself too sometimes. And sometimes I make a mistake and my mind tells me, please don't do it because it does not pay. And also, I make sure I did it the right thing this time.
Can you stop it for a
We're all
sec?
going to have inherent risks in life.
Shoot.
But if you have a positive attitude and you know that you're going to get over that, that's the best way of approaching it. And also what has been said here is support of a person that's making a risk. Support them.
I do Special Olympics for a living, so I know about risks and I know about making mistakes all the time. When you're up on the mountain skiing, there's a lot of risks and there's a lot of mistakes you can make. Going around a turn at 40 miles an hour and accidentally missing that turn and yard selling, that's a big risk. And sometimes you can take it out on yourself, but you just have to pick yourself back up, go right back through the gate and try to make a calculated risk.
I see this a lot with our youth. They never get a chance to fail. And if you never fail, you never learn. And so here, when they become adults, they've never had a chance to make these mistakes, and then they end up making them later in life. And sometimes they're a lot more harmful when you have them later in life than you do when you're younger. And people they're more easily exploited when they don't have this experience behind them. So I think letting them risk, letting them live normal lives that take risks and make failures and have the consequences of those failures is a natural part of life. And I think we'll see people farther ahead in life by taking those risks.
If we don't make our own choice about dignity, and Will and I are going to get nowhere in life.
You gotta learn from your mistakes. So if you don't make mistakes, how can you learn life?
We heard some really important examples of how dignity of risk is actually one of the most important key of lessons, of life lessons. You know, we have the same right to do things that are scary, to do things that are risky, and to learn from those risky decisions. And if we need support in decision making, that people will support us in allowing us to take the risk and do it in a way that's safe. And so thank you for being here today, and thank you to all the fellow People First members here at People First Convention 2019. Woo-hoo! People First!
All right, Mr. Nine. Cool. All right. So, hey, Michelle, did you happen to go to the People First session, one of the ones earlier, or no?
I went into the one on Social Security, and I went on to the one about the benefits, like the ABLE fund, the trust.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I did.
Got it. The reason I was referencing, so the People First, as they reference at the end, that was done at a People First convention. So once a year, there's a statewide where groups from all over the state get together at a convention. So that was done at one of those conventions. So anything jump out at you, or certain lines that people shared at all?
I mean, I totally agree that it's a person's right to be able to take risks and do that, but it's super scary for parents, especially like with young adults, because they're adults and there's laws and it's scary.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And Michelle, I don't know if you knew, so I don't even, because I did the two other sessions, I forget where I've shared this, but so I have 4 kids, one of whom experiences developmental disability. And earlier, actually on Sunday, he had his 24th birthday. So I can relate from a parental perspective to the challenges of risk taking, especially for someone who's developmentally disabled. And from a from a parent perspective, yeah, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah,
sure.
The whole issue of dating and stuff is very challenging.
Yeah, nope, completely agreed. And it was interesting how Ivanova mentioned, that as one of her first things, going on her first date was taking a risk. And I think she even maybe referenced not all her dates went so well.
Right.
Those kinds of things.
She
What do you
was a
know?
baby though, right? I
Ivanova
could have
does
sworn
have
she
a
was at
child.
one of the things that we went to, and her thing is nothing about us without us.
Nothing about
Is
us
that-
without us. Yes. Yeah. And Ivanova does have a child right now. She gave birth somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. And wasn't it interesting in her story? The second time I listened to that video, I didn't realize her parents wanted her to learn to drive. She didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Her parents were encouraging her, and it didn't work out. That was a little. I'm not. You don't hear that very often. That from the parents trying to have her do something to that extent, getting a driver's license, that she wasn't all that excited about it. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, my daughter that's 22 didn't want to drive when we lived in Utah. It was just too busy and too big of a town and no interest. And then we got to Oak Harbor and it was smaller and she had a huge interest. And now she's a really successful driver. Now Robbie has finally got his permit, but he's kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and that's those things, that's risky. My son,
Yes.
he has a twin sister and then he has an older brother and a younger brother. And quite honestly, his siblings asked about him getting his license before he ever did. In fact, he never asked about it. And our answer to the siblings with him present was, it's up to Luke. If Luke wants to do that, then we can follow through in those steps. Now, inside as a parent, I'm kind of going, yeah, that'll be interesting. A little nervous about it, but he has never, he certainly could give it a shot, but he's never shown an interest. He's joked about he'd love to, ride a motorcycle and all these other things, but he's never ever asked, or at least to us. How about you, Tanaya? You were around Luke while he was in the program. Did he ever talk about getting his license?
No, sir. We have a lot of students that are like, we have some that want to, and you're still like, oh, and then we have some that are like, no.
Yeah.
Straight up no.
Yeah, and I know he's had classmates who have their license, and
i.e. NC.
Yeah. Quite honestly, there's some that we specifically don't want him driving with, or being a passenger. But that's, Michelle, you have experience then with, one that's doing quite well and changed her level of interest, and then one that's a little, like you said, 50-50. That's you're supporting some risk.
Our one who has her license, she only drives in town. So she just said, she wants to be able to go to Anacortes, drive off the island. So that's going to be a new thing.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to point out, so the YouTube or the video we watched was from Informing Families Building Trust. Have you ever seen that website?
No, what's it called?
Informing Families Building Trust.
Informing Families Building Trust.
Yep. And I think I'm going to do a quick check here. Yep. So the website is informingfamilies.org. And it's just, there's a ton of resources in Informing Families. And you can kind of go, I haven't been on there lately, but I think it's organized by age, so you can go 19 on up or 18 on up or adult, and then it'll give you some stuff. So it's an interesting resource, very specific to Washington State.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good one. Their job is to try to make sense of what the systems are available, because systems kind of talk system speak, not necessarily parent speak, and so they try to translate it so that it makes sense to us regular people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.